Here's what's to come on Plant Chores Day. Signs your plant needs a repot. How I keep my ghost bright white. The secret behind pole extensions for massive growth and a crazy discovery that blew my mind. Your plants are about to level up. Let's go. Okay, so let's get cracking. We're gonna start off this video with my pair of Syngonium moonshine. Both of them have been crying out for help. They've been chomped on by either massive grasshoppers or baby grasshoppers or even caterpillars. I haven't found like evidence to really pin the culprit, but those chomp marks to me look more grasshopper like. And they are also both in need of repotting desperately. Me personally, I do not like to grow Syngoniums as climbers. I prefer to grow them as a full bushy display. This genus in general, I always look to them as fillers when I'm decorating inside of my home. They just come in such a wide variety of colors and leaf shapes. I find myself reaching for them. So, I think it's safe to say that they are my go-to plants for indoor styling. Besides being super gorge and having a lot to pick from, they are super resilient. I find they are overly underrated. And, I don't understand why, because they can grow in a variety of lighting situations. They take a hit if you miss a watering, if you overwater. They are just, top rated in my mind if I had to rank houseplants. I'm upsizing these from 1 gallon pots to 5 gallon pots because as they grow, I like to take cuttings and just propagate in the same pot and fill it out. Here's another reason why I love Syngoniums. All my soil that I put aside to reuse, I could do so with Syngoniums without having to sterilize the soil again. I find they are super resilient, similar to snake plants. That's like the best comparison I can make in terms of how robust this genus of plants is. So, all my old soil or soil that I had put aside, I could just simply reuse it with these. In this case, I'm not doing that. I will put up my aroid mix shortly. But generally, if I have old soil just sitting around, I will use it to repot my Syngoniums just as I do with my Sansevieria. These I have not seen any decline in the plants by doing that. They don't mind. But for now, the mix that I am using, and that's because I don't have any old soil on hand, is my premium aroid mix that I get from Utopia. And side note, proof that they don't really care if I use old soil or fresh mix is that the roots are growing out of the bottom by a mile. So, they really aren't a fussy genus of plants. This plant in particular, I propagated from my mother plant. I just took cuttings from it and directly just plopped it in soil. And I used this stake support system. It's actually stackable to keep the propagations upright during that time. And well, clearly I just forgot about it. The plant was thriving and, I didn't have the need to check on it. So those remained in there over time. I can't help but reiterate again that these plants are fine with old soil, so don't feel like you need to throw away your soil every time you're going to uppot or repot a plant. These plants, well, Syngoniums anyway, they love sloppy seconds. Something I practice with certain plants, for example, the Syngonium, because it has been root bound for such a long time, I try to shake off as much of the old soil as possible when I'm repotting so some of that fresh mix can get around new roots or the existing root system. That I find helps to bush out the plant and encourage new growth faster. If you're familiar with my plant chores videos, you'll know that once I am done plant chores, that's when I water. So I line all my plants up and then I water all of them with my special trauma preventing slash nourishing joy juice, if you want to call it, in the end. If you're new here, you're going to want to stick around to find out what exactly is in that joy juice. And if you've been here before, let me know in the comments if you've tried it out yourself. Moving right along now to another super root bound or just overgrown plant. This is my Philodendron Florida Ghost. I knew this one was ready for a repot because the newest leaves were hardening off smaller than the ones previously. There are a number of indicators that I look for before actually repotting, and roots poking out the bottom of the pot is not the only sign that I look for. I will link a reel that explains or that shows all the indicators that I look for before repotting a plant coming up next. But before that, I'm just going to show you all how I get it out of the 1 gallon pot that it's currently growing in, and that I'm going to place it in a 5 gallon pot now. And I think I'm just going to extend the pole as well, as I already have it out, so that those leaves can start back sizing up for me again. And there you go. Those were all the signs that I look for before repotting a plant. And here comes my pole extension. This new leaf, or that one that you just saw there, confirms that I should just go ahead and do the pole extension so that that new leaf can root into the pole and continue to size up. I was just reaching for my zip ties that I frequently use time and time again to stack my cocoa poles that are made using this mesh wire, so it's easy to weave the zip ties through. So I'm just cleaning up as I go so that I don't have a huge mess at the end of it. And I'm just flipping this one over and I'm going to attach it like that. And here comes a quick tip from a plant friend that shared this with me a couple plant chores videos ago, and that is to weave the tie straps through multiple holes in the pole. I'm going to give you all a close up so you'll see exactly what I mean just now. And I also secure the extending pole at 4 different points. So I just weave it like this, secure it, but I don't tighten it all the way, and then I continue to do this at 4 different points. This helps to keep the extended pole a lot more balanced and as upright as I could get it. This is the close up of me just making sure that I have the pole situated how I want it. And then once I confirm this, I go ahead and secure it fully. Coming up, I'll show you all some other tricks of how I stabilize these poles, especially when it turns into 3 and 4 stacking on top each other. But what I'm doing here is just cutting off the excess on the zip ties so they don't get in the way of the leaves and perforate them or interrupt any new leaves that might be on the way. And that's about it for this one. I will keep you all updated in terms of how it progresses. If you follow me on Instagram, you would see or you would notice that the variegation has dwindled since I've placed it in the greenhouse. And what this is telling me is that it needs more or a touch of direct sun and not just indirect light. Let me know in the comments what you'd recommend or what you do to restore variegation in your plants. But for this one in particular that I've experimented with time and time again, getting some direct sun on the leaves really, really brightens up or pushes variegation. Let me show you what it looked like when it was receiving about 4 hours of direct morning sun. Before continuing with chores, I just wanted to show you all how I use even this scrap piece of PVC pipe as a stabilizer for when my poles start to stack 2 and 3, 3 and 4 times. And this is a standard stake here. I just secure the poles to it and plant that stake into the pot, and that keeps it stable. I just want to take a minute to request that if there are any of y'all who have established potting stations outdoors, if you have any suggestions for me or recommendations in terms of how I can make this space, just better organized, more functional, please drop me a line in the comments. I'll really appreciate it as I'm now getting this area sorted out to support my greenhouse. And I'm going to move on to another Syngonium that I love as well, and that's Syngonium batik. For these two, I'm just going to give them a quick facelift. They have been neglected and are showing signs of that with the yellowing leaves or browning leaves. I need to be more consistent with the watering with these. I do put my Syngoniums on the back burner because I always have some fickle plant that I'm dealing with. And today I just want to get these back up to, a beautiful state and to sort of put them within easy reach so that I could just keep up with whatever needs they might have. So I'm just going to give it a facelift by getting rid of all the old dead leaves, chopping off any areas that are not really serving the plant, or just, making the display just look messy. So I'm just cleaning it up as you see here, and that will be it for these two. I don't see them requiring a repot or anything at this point. These are all the dead leaves and damaged leaves that I've pulled off that instantly just makes the plants look healthier. And I'm going to backfill here so that it can get some nutrition. It doesn't really require repot per se, but backfilling is to me a quick win when I'm trying to boost the health and just the bushiness of Syngonium. I'll do the same for this one, and that'll be it this time for these two. And already my plants just look so much happier. Onto this super sad one, which is my Synapsis agerias. It has been crying for a repot. It is severely dehydrated. Those curled leaves are the telltale sign of that. I really should be repotting this one at this time, but I do not have a pot big enough to repot it into. So I am just going to set this one up to go for a swim. For chronically dehydrated plants, I bottom water to ensure that every inch of soil in that pot gets rehydrated. Sometimes I do this with the cover pot on, or sometimes I take it off and let the roots make direct contact with the water. In this case, I'm leaving the plastic cover pot on because I want to contain it's so root bound that I want to contain as much water in there for as long as possible to saturate this pot before putting it back in the greenhouse. So how I set it up to bottom water to rehydrate fully is, besides watering up top, I'm going to fill this basin halfway up with water and just leave the synapses in here to sit for the rest of this video, and I'll update you all later on or on Instagram. I think I'll be able to do it later in this video. It probably needs like at least a half an hour, 20 minutes soak. And I'll show you all these leaves uncurled later in the video to show you all how effective bottom watering is and how great it is to rehydrate super dehydrated plants. However, this one long term is going to decline until I give this a repot. It really needs a repot. That's the problem. So I am hopefully getting new pots this week and should tend to that then. But while that's soaking, I'm going to move on to my Cryptosperma Johnstonii. This one also needs a repot. This plant I constantly neglect. I think because it's such an easy grower, but my issue is that it's also a super fast grower. So I can never keep up with the repots. Is really always when it's down to one leaf is when I notice that, oh gosh, I missed that window to repot it, where it will continue to hold multiple leaves. But here we are again. I'm going to give it another go, and hopefully next time around I wouldn't wait for it to decline to one leaf to pick up on the fact that it needed a repot sooner. So, like I said, that one is a super fast grower, and it really is such a beautiful plant from the leaves to the petioles. Everything is patterned, and it's such an interesting plant if you just take the time to look at all the details on that one. So those are all that were in the lineup for repotting. I'm going to water them now with that joy juice I mentioned before. And what I'm looking for is the supplement, this one, Great White. I swear by Great White, and actually, I'll link a video in the description for y'all where you can see all the products that I swear by every plant parent to me should at least try once. But in that video, it explains why these products are my go-to products. But in general, here, Great White helps to prevent trauma, and it adds microbes to the soil that allows for efficient nutrient uptake. So just to give the plants a little boost after repotting, which can be stressful for them, I always water with Great White. For propagation, specifically water props or plants that I'm rehabbing by trying to get them to reroot, I switch Great White and I use Super Thrive instead. Next week's video, you'll see that in action. I have a really cool experiment that I'm setting up with my Bullmarks Fantasy. So next week's video is a good one to look forward to, just to see, well, just to get some more pro tips, I will say, and to just have a new, fresh experiment going to update you all on. Okay, so all of these are all set and ready to be placed back into the greenhouse. I'm just gonna give y'all an overview of where they live. Some of them have outgrown the space, and I'm gonna have to rearrange the greenhouse again. Let me know if you want to see a greenhouse tour. And this one has spent, I would say, like 30 minutes soaking in water. So I'm going to add this one back, and by the end of the video I will show you all how it has rehydrated. And the sign that it has been rehydrated is that the leaves would uncurl. So hang in there to see, the effects or the effects of bottom watering in chronic dehydrated situations. So all my syngoniums sit here, but like I said, I have to rearrange. Right now everything is kind of just piled in here. My Johnstonia is going over there just below the opening in my greenhouse so that the rain can help me water it, so that I could kind of stay on top of the care that way. And my Florida Ghost has outgrown this space, so yeah, I'm gonna have to do a rearrange pretty soon. Okay, so this is the synapses rehydrated again. Now, this is going to be quite short lived because, like I said, it's in dire need of a repot. So it will start to, well, it will continue to decline, but this is what a well hydrated synapses looks like. The leaves uncool. Moving right along to one that we don't see very often, well, that I don't see on the internet very often, it's my Syngonium erythrophyllum. It's a dark leaf syngonium, and this is the biggest I've ever gotten the leaves. It is a difficult grow for me. I find it to be quite fickle as well. And I'm not going to do much here. I'm just going to give it a facelift like I did with my Syngonium batik and get rid of any bare stems. This one was severely underwatered as well. So I'm just going to clean it up, get rid of those bare stems, and that will probably be it for this one. A quick win for me is to just prune back all these bare stems. I find Syngonium as well as other vining plants, they do well with a pruning. They always come back bushier and more beautiful. This is the longest bare stem on my plant. I'm going to just remove it completely, trim it off like this. And, I really believe in pruning. It has never failed me yet. Starting plants over also doesn't fear me, but just like that, this one looks so much better than the beginning. This is everything that I've taken off. It's a lot, but, the facelift did work. I'm going to move right along to my Philodendron Pink Princess Marble that has seen better days. I think I'm just going to start it over. To start this one over, I'm going to detach it from the pole first. I did try to air layer the bottom when I saw it declining, but I don't think it rooted well. Otherwise, it would have been growing in a much healthier way. So I'm just removing that. I'm going to take a look and see if anything at all grew. I'm going to gently detach the aerial roots from the pole itself to not snap the stem off. And more than likely, I'll just make a blunt cut and water propagate the top cutting. I am the most confident water propping, so I'm going to give myself enough wiggle room by taking a cutting that gives me a bit of an allowance in case there's rotting at the end. I will leave it to callus a bit, but I have a few nodes that I can work with to hopefully root, and I'm just going to leave this butt cut to reshoot on its own. On second thought, I suspected rotting at the base, so I decided to pull it out of the pot that it was growing in and remove that moss pole to possibly reuse both, and you will not believe what I found. Because I knew this one was deteriorating already, instead of leaving it just to take care of itself, I don't know why, it's just a gut feeling that, made me pull this one out. And thank God I did, because it was growing in that mesh plug or the death plug that some plant parents call it. And I had no idea all this time. I probably had this plant for an entire year so far, and the root system is non existent here. So I doubt it would have reshooted. I'm going to have to start this one over as well. Here's a better look at this situation. This is the plug with the roots actually attached to the plug and just being unable to grow through it. So it was just a hot mess in here. The roots were clearly stifled. And I guess it was my fault. I do not practice repotting my plants as I get it. I leave them, and I usually wait to see if it starts to decline, or if it progresses, I leave it alone. Only if it declines, I take a look at the roots, but it's not common practice for me to check the roots of new plants. And to help this one along, well, this is what I'm left with. By the way, these roots are thread-like. They probably deflated. It looks like deflated roots, and I'm going to have to basically reroot the entire thing. So what I'm going to do after assessing this is give it some super thrive. There are some remnants of roots in the butt cut, so that one I could put some super thrive in. I just add it as per the instructions, and it's like 2 drops per ounce per 8 ounces of water. And I'm just going to use a clear jar so I can monitor the root progression. This is actually an old olive jar. I'm just mixing the super thrive in there and allowing it to distribute in the water. And I'm going to add the butt cut in, and only if my cutting has roots, this one has the remnants of roots, is when I add super thrive. And I'm just going to watch this as it progresses. I'm going to put the top cut in here as well because it does have aerials, and I guess it could benefit from the super thrive. And this could actually be a good experiment to see, if having aerials, if adding super thrive to a cutting that doesn't have soil roots in it, if it will benefit from the super thrive. So I'll keep you all posted on Instagram or in a future update video to see how these progress in super thrive water. I'm just going to add it to the greenhouse next, amidst all the rest of my water propagations. Just slipping it in here, and I'll be sure to update you all on if it makes any difference putting a cutting in that doesn't have soil roots into super thrive water, or if that was, just a waste of time. I mean, I guess it just wouldn't take up the nutrition if it doesn't have roots, so it comes like if it was just in water anyway. But we'll see how it goes. In frame right now is my philodendron cream splash. It's such a gorgeous plant. It is due for a repot. I very seldom feature my vining plants. If you want to see a tour of my vining collection, I'll be happy to do it. This is a close up of the root network, and I think I really am gonna put it in a larger pot, but just a bit bigger. Before I backfill, I want to try and see if I could stimulate some new growth by burying parts of the bare stems themselves. This is something that I commonly practice to make the topper of my vining plants bushier. So I wind the bare stem around the pot, down, well, as low as I could get it. And this usually activates a couple of the nodes to push some new growth. And that's how, I bush out my plants. I frequently use paper clips to pin them in place that you'll see coming up in the next frame, and that tends to hold it down securely enough. And once I've done that, I backfill, and that should be it for this one. I'm going to show you all another method to see if you're balding plants in the next frame that I also practiced as different to this one that helps fill out the top of my plants when they're balding. Do you remember my balding Syngapsis silvery ant plant that I had to rehab in my latest Syngapsis propagation video? In that video, I gave her a facelift. For all my tips and tricks to get your Syngapsis looking its best, be sure to check that one out down below. Here's what she looks like now. And that was the other method. Here I am twisting my paperclip into a pin to pin it down. So here you go with 2 methods on how to fill out your balding plants. Okay, so I'm done pinning down the vines, and I'm going to backfill now, and I'm hoping that these nodes get activated sooner than later, and I'll be sure to update y'all. This is the final look, and here is what a new leaf looks like on this particular plant. It's like a little mini sunset. So this is the final look. I still left some trailing bits that were full enough, looking presentable. I thought the display was beautiful. And I'm going to move on to another stunner that gives new leaves that look like a sunset as well. And that's my philodendron marble. This one is long overdue for a repot, and it is a little too long for my liking. So I'm going to chop and prop this, and hopefully create a bushier plant in a similar way that I did with my cream splash. As with the Syngapsis silvery Ann that you saw the reel about earlier, where I created propagations to use as plugs to fill out my balding plants, I'm going to chop and prop these into single nodes like this, with about a centimeter on either side of the node to allow for enough wiggle room if there's rotting to occur. I could just chop that off. So 1 centimeter on either side, or 1 inch on either side, is a good practice when trying to root in water. And I'm going to set these up to propagate. I just grab one of my large humidity domes and place it inside of there so it receives 100% humidity and it resides inside of the greenhouse for about 1 month or so. And that's a wrap on today's plant chores. I hope these tips help your plants thrive as much as mine did after a big move. Don't forget to drop a comment. What's one chore you've been putting off or a plant hack you swear by? I'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and subscribe for more greenhouse updates, care tips, and rare plant adventures. And hey, if you want to see the full greenhouse journey, be sure to check out the link in the description to start from the beginning. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.